Welcome back to High School Academic Derby, brought to you by the Onslow County Schools. Today we have a match between Dixon and Richlands. Our scorekeeper for all of today's games will be Wanda Costner. Let's meet the coaches and their players for the first round. We'll start with Richlands. They're coached by Justine Smith, and her players for this round are
Tyler Martin, 10th grade.
Catherine Conrad, senior.
Alexander Schumann, 11th grade.
Dominic Andrus, junior.
The Dixon coach is Ashley DeMartin, and her players are
Kayla Cordy, 10th grade.
Catrice Cade, senior.
And Dixon has a couple of players in transit, so you may see some new faces for our next round. Okay, players, our first toss-up deals with moons. In 2012, the moon appeared extraordinarily large and bright in the night sky because it was at what point in its orbit? It's called the perigee. Math toss-up, I'll read it twice for you. What is the slope of the graph generated by this equation given that t is the independent variable? The equation is p minus 14 equals 0.05 t. What is the slope of the graph generated by this equation given that t is the independent variable? The equation is p minus 14 equals 0.05 t. And the answer is 0.05. Your next toss-up deals with presidents. Kemal Ataturk drew up a new national constitution that severed the long-standing relationship between the Turkish government and what religion? Tyler.
Eastern Orthodox.
Say it again, please.
Eastern Orthodox.
That's incorrect. You want to try Dixon? Well, the answer is Islam. Your next toss-up deals with forts. He assisted in the capture of Fort Ticonderoga and was involved in the siege of Quebec. He fought in the Battle of Saratoga and commanded West Point. Later, he commanded a Royal Army unit against Americans. Name him. Catherine.
Tecumseh.
Incorrect. Dixon. Our most famous trader, Benedict Arnold. Mammals. What anatomical structure is a keratinized, thread-like outgrowth from the skins of mammals? Alexander.
Hair.
Hair or fur. For your bonus, number 1, name the order of egg-laying mammals that includes the platypus and echidna. Number 2, a 50-pound, 3-foot-long, meat-eating mammal of the Arctic and subarctic. It is also known as the carcajou, skunk bear, and American glutton. Name this creature with a broad, sturdy body and feet armed with heavy, curving claws. Number 3, what do Americans call an Australian jumbuck? Number 4, what is chewed by all ruminants? Catherine.
For 1, I have monotremes. For 2, I have polar bear. For 3, I have armadillo. And for 4, I have grass.
Number 1 is correct for 2 points. Dixon, 2, 3, or 4?
We have no answers.
The answer to number 2 is a wolverine. For number 3, a sheep. And number 4, they all chew their cuds. Evidence. Legally speaking, what kind of chain is illustrated in this sequence? Officer Smith finds a bloody knife at the scene of a crime. He turns it over to a forensics specialist who checks it for fingerprints and does DNA tests on the blood before turning it over to the evidence clerk who stores it until it is needed for a trial. Catherine.
Chain of custody.
Chain of custody is correct. For your bonus, these questions also deal with legal items. Number 1, what rule prohibits the use in court of evidence that was obtained illegally? Number 2, how would a judge classify this form of circumstantial evidence? If a witness said, I heard the deceased say that the defendant was hurting for cash and that the defendant had no scruples when it came to means of acquiring money. Number 3, in court, what kind of evidence is indirect and inferential? Number 4, the legal doctrine that excludes from introduction at trial any evidence obtained indirectly as a result of an illegal search is called the fruit of what kind of tree? Catherine.
I have nothing for 1. For 2, I have hearsay. Nothing for 3. And for 4, I have the poisonous tree.
2 and 4 are correct for 4 points. Dixon, 1 or 3?
We have no answers.
Huh? The answer for number 1 is the exclusionary rule, and for number 3, it's circumstantial evidence. This toss-up deals with forms of matter. These terms describe what form of matter? Amorphous, crystalline. Tyler.
Solid.
Solid is correct. And for your bonus, here are some other questions that deal with physical science. Number 1, dozen is to 12 as mole is to what number? Number 2, the amount of heat needed to convert 1 gram of a liquid to 1 gram of a gas without increasing the temperature is called the heat of what? Number 3, what broad category of elements conduct heat and electricity poorly, are brittle or waxy or gaseous, and cannot be hammered into sheets or drawn into wire? Number 4, what term beginning with the letter O means the capacity of a body to impede the passage of light? Catherine.
For 3, I have non-metals. For 4, I have opaque.
3 and 4 are correct for 4 points. 1 or 2, Dixon?
We have no answers.
For number 1, it's 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. And for number 2, it's the heat of vaporization. Your next toss-up deals with Indian tribes. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 was primarily designed to move what tribe in Georgia to lands in the West? Catherine.
The Cherokee.
Correct. For your bonus, these questions also deal with Indian tribes. Number 1, what Indian tribe perpetrated the Fort Mims massacre near Mobile, Alabama in 1813? Number 2, Chief Joseph was the leader of the Wallowa Band of what Indian tribe? Number 3, what language was shared by the Seneca, Mohawk, Oneida, Cayuga, and Onondaga tribes in the 16th century? Number 4, the Pequot War of 1637, involving English settlers in the Pequots, occurred in the region of what modern U.S. state? Catherine.
For 1, I have Blackfoot. For 2, I have Choctaw. For 3, I have Iroquois. And for 4, I have Montana.
Iroquois is correct for 2 points for number 3, 1, 2, or 4, Dixon.
We have no answers.
Number 1 is the Creek tribe. Number 2, the Nez Perce. And number 4 is Connecticut. That's the end of our first round. We'll come back with a score and round 2 in just a moment.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
Join us for the College Fair on Wednesday, October 25th at Northside High School. Middle school students are welcome from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and high school students from 6 to 8 p.m. Representatives from over 60 colleges will help answer all of your questions about applying, tuition, and college life. So we'll see you at the College Fair.
After the first round, our score is Richlands 20, Dixon 0. We have new players to meet for the Richlands team.
Joshua Larimore, 10th grade.
Michaela Selby, 9th grade.
Riley Stone, freshman.
Your next toss-up and bonus questions deal with the state of California. Which branch of the American military has bases at Camp Pendleton, California, Paris Island, South Carolina, and Quantico, Virginia? Kayla.
Marines.
That's correct. For your bonus, in 1947, members of the Screen Actors Guild refused to answer questions before the House Un-American Activities Committee. This group, all of whom served prison sentences and were blacklisted by the film industry, became known as the Hollywood Blank due to the number in the group. Number 2, what railroad company was organized by Leland Stanford, Collis Huntington, Charles Crocker, and Mark Hopkins? Number 3, Claude Ryan of California, who had been a World War I aviator, built a monoplane with what name for an extraordinarily famous American pilot? Number 4, identify any of the lines of latitude that pass through California. Catrice.
We have no answers.
No answers for any of those. Richlands?
For 1, I have 9. For 2, I have Pacific. And for 3, I have Spirit of St. Louis.
The Spirit of St. Louis is correct for 2 points. You were almost correct on number 2. It's the Central Pacific. And number 4, you could have named any line between 32 and 43 degrees north. Oh, it was the Hollywood 10, by the way, for number 1. Absolute value question. I'll read it twice for you. What values satisfy this equation? 5 plus the absolute value of quantity 2x plus 1 equals 8. What values satisfy this equation? 5 plus the absolute value of the quantity 2x plus 1 equals, Joshua?
1 and -1.
Incorrect. Those equals 8, and I'll give you your full 10 seconds, Dixon, if you want to try to answer. No answer. 1 and -2. Your next toss-up deals with Iran. The southern end of what enormous saltwater lake forms part of the northern border of Iran? Joshua.
The Caspian Sea.
Correct. For your bonuses, number 1, what country lies closest to Iran across the Strait of Hormuz? Number 2, the shortest air route from Qatar to Iran is over what body of water? Number 3, in 1980, Iraq launched an attack against Iran to take control of what waterway dividing those two countries? Number 4, what is the national language of Iran? Catherine.
For 1, I have Iraq. For 2, I have the Dead Sea. Nothing for 3. For 4, I have Arabic.
None of those are correct, Dixon.
No answers.
It's the United Arab Emirates, the closest across the Strait of Hormuz. The Persian Gulf is the body of water. The piece of waterway that Iran and Iraq fought over was called the Shatt al-Arab, and the national language of Iran is called Farsi. We will also have accepted Persian. Next set of questions deals with the digestive system. For your toss-up, what part of the large intestine is located just after the cecum? Catherine.
The jejunum.
Incorrect. Dixon. Then it's called the ascending colon. Root words. What does the root word mean in each of the following? Contract, tractor, traction, intractable, detract. We would have accepted drag, pull, or draw. The nervous system. What is the only neurotransmitter involved in voluntary control of skeletal muscles? Catherine.
Acetylcholine.
Correct. Here are your bonuses. Number 1, stimulants affect which part of the nervous system that regulates involuntary action? Number 2, the 3 purely sensory cranial nerves include the vestibulocochlear, olfactory, and what other? Number 3, name the 2 main parts of the nervous system. Number 4, the depression in the macula lutea of the retina, which contains the region of greatest visual acuity and consists of a single layer of cones with no overlapping blood vessels, is called the what? Catherine.
For 1, I have the central nervous system. Nothing for 2. For 3, I have the spinal cord and brain, and nothing for 4.
None of those are correct, Dixon.
For 4, we have iris.
I'll start with the first. The first one is called the autonomic nervous system. The other nerve was the optic nerve. The 2 main parts of the nervous system are the central and the peripheral. And number 4, that area in the eye is called the fovea, F-O-V-E-A. Next toss-up deals with 17th century history. The Austrian imperial crown, made in 1602, sat on the heads of several rulers from what Berg family? They were the Habsburgs. And that's the end of our second round. We'll come up with our scores and have a lightning round right after this.
Join us for the College Fair on Wednesday, October 25th at Northside High School. Middle school students are welcome from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and high school students from 6 to 8 p.m. Representatives from over 60 colleges will help answer all of your questions about applying, tuition, and college life. So we'll see you at the College Fair.
After 2 rounds, the score is Richlands 26, Dixon 2. We have new players to meet for both teams. We'll start with Richlands.
JT Sandlin, sophomore.
Jason Laszlo, 12th.
And for Dixon, we have
Nick Sanders, senior.
in our lightning round today, all of the responses to these questions will contain a color word someplace in them, beginning, middle, or end. Scenic highway located in western North Carolina and Virginia. Nick.
Blue Ridge Parkway.
Correct. Oldest national park in the United States. Catherine.
Yellowstone.
Correct. Nickname for the quail based on its call. Carcinogenic herbicide used by the American military in Vietnam. Catherine.
Agent Orange.
Correct. Leukocytes. Catherine.
White blood cells.
Correct. Remnant of a star which is so massive that even light can't escape its
Black
trees.
hole. Black hole.
All right, wait till I call on you, please. In a short story by Mark Twain, the kind of bird that tries to fill a house with acorns. Body of water between the Korean Peninsula and mainland China. Dominic.
Yellow Sea.
Correct. River that serves as part of the border between Oklahoma and Texas. Earth's largest island located northeast of mainland Canada. Dominic.
Greenland.
Correct. A contagious disease of the eye. It's a form of conjunctivitis. Nick.
Pink eye.
Correct. A physical attribute often said to be possessed only by aristocrats. The county seat of Guilford County, North Carolina. A condition that occurs when electric service is disrupted over a large area. Nick.
Blackout.
Correct. Nickname of the sports teams from Duke University. Catherine.
Blue Devils.
Correct. A contagious tropical disease spread by mosquitoes. Nick.
Yellow fever.
That's correct. An important port in Wisconsin that's on Lake Michigan is home of the NFL Packers. Catrice.
Green Bay.
Correct. A landlocked body of water between Turkey and the Ukraine. Nick.
Red Sea.
Incorrect. Location of the Mount Rushmore Monument. Patriotic band led by Ethan Allen in the Revolutionary War. All right, the ones we either didn't answer or did not get correct. The Bob White is another name for the quail. The Blue Jay was in that story by Mark Twain. The Red River is part of the border between Oklahoma and Texas. Aristocrats can be called blue bloods. Greensboro is the county seat of Guilford. The Black Sea is the landlocked body of water between Turkey and Ukraine. You can find Mount Rushmore in the Black Hills, and Ethan Allen led the Green Mountain Boys. We'll add in these points and come back with our final score right after this. Today's final result is Richlands 40, Dixon 14. Northside against White Oak is coming up in just a moment, so please stay with us.
Join us for the College Fair on Wednesday, October 25th at Northside High School. Middle school students are welcome from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and high school students from 6 to 8 p.m. Representatives from over 60 colleges will help answer all of your questions about applying, tuition, and college life. So we'll see you at the college fair.
Miss Nicole Martin, our 2017-18 Onslow County Schools Teacher of the Year. Creative thinker, marvelous teacher, advocate for public education and students, and superhero, Miss Nicole Martin.
Onslow County has just been is just the greatest district that anyone could ever ask to work for. And really, I know we have cameras in here, but you really have to turn it on these students. I mean, I couldn't do anything that I do if it wasn't for my students. My honors class is in here right now. They were working really hard, and some of my student leaders are in here. They work so hard to help make everything possible and to have a supportive principal and a supportive district that really enables us to do everything that we do here in Onslow County.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to High School Academic Derby, brought to you by the Onslow County Schools. Today we have a match between Northside and White Oak. Let's meet the coaches and their players for the first round. The Northside coach is Rachel Livermore, and her players are
Scott Miller, 10th grade.
Justin Batista, 12th grade.
Jasmine Bryant, 11th grade.
Andy Huang, 10th grade.
White Oak is coached by Ashley Baker. Her players for this round will be
Chris Cooney, senior.
John Lotsis, sophomore.
Ryan McElhenney, senior.
John Encarnacion, junior.
Toss-up number 1 deals with participles. What participle in this line is used as an adjective? The seeping water indicated a hull problem with Jane's old sailboat. Scott.
Seeping.
Correct. For your bonus, number 1, what kind of participle is illustrated in this example? I was getting to know all about you. Number 2, what word in the next sentence is modified by a participle? The Nairobi octogenarian, finding the harem completely empty, had to settle for playing video games in the mall. Number 3, what word is a participle in this sentence? I distinctly remember forgetting that. And number 4, what is the present participle of the verb arise? Justin.
For the first bonus, we have past. For the second bonus, we have hurrying. For the third, we have forgetting. And for D, we have arising.
3 and 4 are correct for 4 points. White Oak, 1 or 2?
No answers.
Number 1, it's a present participle. And number 2, the word modified was octogenarian. Math toss-up, I'll read it twice for you. What is the slope of the line described by the equation 2x minus 3y equals 4? What is the slope of the line described by the equation 2x minus 3y equals 4? Ryan?
2/3.
Correct. For your bonus, number 1, a curve shaped somewhat like the letter J illustrates what kind of growth curve? Number 2, in what quadrant is x negative and y positive? Number 3, what can be said of two lines with equal slopes but different y-intercepts? Number 4, what is the slope of this line? 7x plus 5y equals negative 10.
For number 1, we have exponential. For number 2, we have second quadrant. For number 3, we have parallel lines. And for 4, we have 7/5.
1, 2, and 3 are correct for 6 points. North side, number 4.
For number 4, we have nothing.
Number 4 is negative 7/5. Civil rights. In what Supreme Court case of 1954 did Chief Justice Earl Warren rule for a unanimous court that separate educational facilities for blacks and whites? Justin?
Brown versus Board of Education.
That's correct. And for your bonus, number 1, in criminal proceedings, there may be a directed verdict of acquittal, but there cannot be a directed verdict of conviction, because that would violate the defendant's right to a trial by jury as specified in which article of the U.S. Constitution? Number 2, a protest that marked the beginning of the modern civil rights movement in the United States was the boycott of segregated buses led by Martin Luther King Jr. in what Alabama city? Number 3, what leading Soviet physicist who helped develop their first atomic bomb protested the testing of nuclear weapons in 1948, campaigned for civil rights, and was awarded the 1975 Nobel Peace Prize? Number 4, who wrote the following lines? My dear fellow clergymen, I am in Birmingham because injustice is here. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Justin.
All right, for 1, we have 8. For number 2, we have Montgomery. For number 3, we have Albert Einstein. And for number 4, we have Martin Luther King Jr.
2 and 4 correct for 4 points. White Oak, 1 or 3?
Number 1, we have Birmingham.
For, you have what for number 1?
Birmingham.
Well, number 1 asked for the article in the Constitution. That would be the third article. And number 3, the Russian physicist was Andrei Sakharov. Your next toss-up deals with electricity. What is the combined resistance when 3 ohm and 7 ohm resistors are connected in parallel? Justin.
4 ohms.
Incorrect. Want to try it, White Oak? Giles.
Is it 10 ohms?
It's 2.1. You have to multiply them, I guess. Texas. Who had lived in the Soviet Union and worked for the Fair Play for Cuba Committee before being employed at the Texas School Book Depository? Scott.
Viho Viazwan.
Correct. For your bonus, Cabeza de Vaca became a legendary explorer after being shipwrecked on what island that's off the coast of Texas? Number 2, what American frontier judge built an opera in his town in anticipation of a visit by British actress Lily Langtry, who actually arrived there shortly after his death? Number 3, what Texas city near the Gulf of Mexico is just across the Rio Grande from Matamoros, Mexico? Number 4, in 1835, the first Declaration of Independence of the Republic of Texas was signed in what town where 1 year later, Santa Ana had 342 of its Texan defenders executed. Justin.
For number 1, we have Cuba. For number 2, we have nothing. For number 3, we have El Paso. And for number 4, we have nothing.
Okay, White Oak, any of the 4?
For number 4, we have Houston.
Number 1 was Galveston. Number 2, Judge Roy Bean. Number 3, the town is Brownsville. And number 4, Goliad. Your next toss-up and questions deal with palindromes, things that are the same backward and forward. What is the last word in the palindrome in this rhyme? So listen carefully to the rhyme. A milkman jilted by his lass, or wandering in his wits, might murmur, stiff, O dairyman, in a myriad of blank. It's kind of a tough one. The word is fits. That's the end of our first round. We'll come back with round 2 on our score right after this.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise and be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Join us for the College Fair on Wednesday, October 25th at Northside High School. Middle school students are welcome from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and high school students from 6 to 8 p.m. Representatives from over 60 colleges will help answer all of your questions about applying, tuition, and college life. So we'll see you at the College Fair.
After one round, our score is Northside 14, White Oak 8. And we have new players to meet. We'll start with Northside.
Kyle Meng Wu, grade 10.
And for White Oak, we have?
Brandon Barnett, freshman.
Okay. Our first toss-up deals with measurements. This does not involve a calculation as such, so I'm only going to read it once. Multiply by 0.9144 to convert yards to what metric measure? Jasmine.
Meters.
That's correct. For your bonus, number 1, how many acres are in the south half of the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of a section of land? Number 2, an arc minute equals what fraction of a degree? Number 3, how many times shorter is a picosecond than a millisecond? Number 4, in 1979, 380 million liters of radioactive water leaked into a New Mexico pond. To the nearest million, express that volume in gallons. Justin.
For number 1, we have 0.125. For number 2, we have 1/16. And for number 3, we have 10 to the negative 6 smaller.
Say your answer number 2 again, please.
1/16.
Okay. None of those are correct. Any of the 4 White Oak?
We have no answers.
Okay, number 1 was 20. Number 2 was 1/60th. Number 3, 10 to the 9th, or 1 billion times as much. Number 4, 380 million liters equals 100 million gallons. This next toss-up deals with verbs. Number one, the toss-up is, what is the last verb in Abraham Lincoln's famous Gettysburg Address? Justin.
Preserve.
Incorrect. Whiteout. A government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. Ecology. What type of biome exists throughout practically all of Central Australia? John.
Desert.
That's correct. Here are your bonuses. Number one, a species of animal that is not endangered but may become so in the near future is described as being what? Number two, which of the two main components of an ecosystem includes chemical elements and factors such as water, wind, temperature, fire, climate, sunlight, rocks, and minerals? Number three, since 1986, the populations of roe deer and wild boar have skyrocketed in the region around what Ukrainian city, despite the fact that their bodies contain some 2,000 times the safe level of cesium-137? Number four, when a fish consumes a heavy metal, it is retained in the tissues. The more contaminated organisms it consumes, the greater amount of metal in its body. When other fish eat the first fish, the accrued metal is passed up the food chain, eventually becoming hundreds or thousands of times its original concentration. Give me the term starting with a B that names this process. Ryan.
For number one, we have threatened, and for number four, we have bioaccumulation.
Those are both correct for 4 points. 2 or 3, Northside?
For number 2, we have abiotic.
That is correct for 2 points. Number 3 was Chernobyl. Your next set of questions deals with Indians. Toss up. For 5 months in 1886, General Nelson Miles and his troopers combed Arizona looking for an Indian leader who, for years, had been staging raids on both sides of the U.S.-Mexico border. The chase came to an end in Skeleton Canyon. Who finally surrendered there? Geronimo. Your next toss-up deals with mountains. Chechnya and Ossetia are in what mountain range? John.
The Caucasus.
That's correct. For your bonus, answer the following questions dealing with mountains. Number 1, part of what mountain range is in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge? Number 2, you are sailing on what enormous bay if you look to your west and see the Eastern Ghats, a range of mountains? Number 4, if you are having lunch on Ben Nevis, Ben, B-E-N, Nevis, you are dining atop the highest point in what kingdom? And number 4, Mount Parnassus can be found in what country? Ryan.
We have no answers.
Okay. North side.
For number 1, we have Rockies, and for number 3, we have England.
I need a more specific answer for number 3.
London, England.
No, it's the United Kingdom. I asked for the kingdom. So that's the highest mountain in all of the United Kingdoms. The answer to number 1 was Brooks Range, number 2, the Bay of Bengal, and number 4 is Greece. This math toss-up deals with radicals, and I'll read it twice. Simplify the square root of 512 times the quantity q squared. Simplify the square root of 512 times the quantity Q squared? And the answer is 16Q times quantity square root of 2. That brings us to the end of the round. We'll add up our points and come back with a lightning round in just a moment.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Join us for the College Fair on Wednesday, October 25th at Northside High School. Middle school students are welcome from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and high school students from 6 to 8 p.m. Representatives from over 60 colleges will help answer all of your questions about applying, tuition, and college life. So we'll see you at the College Fair.
And after 2 rounds, our score is Northside 18, White Oak 16. We have 2 new players to meet for Northside.
Jaheim White, sophomore.
Wyatt Revis, 10th grade.
In today's lightning round, all of the answers will begin with the letter C. Number 1, capital of Wyoming. Number 2, the author of the Canterbury Tales. Number 3, state whose capital is Hartford. Chris?
Connecticut.
That's correct. Number 4, in Greek mythology, he would only row you across the Styx if you paid him. Number 5, a piece of metal used as money. Justin?
Coin.
Correct. A protons is positive and electrons is negative. The mathematical law saying that 1 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 1. Chris?
Commutative.
Correct. A degeneration of the liver tissues often associated with alcoholism. The American statesman and presidential candidate who led the fight for the Compromise of 1840. In navigation, it is a device used for showing direction. Chris?
Compass.
Correct. A New York university or a brand of toothpaste. Justin?
Colgate.
Correct. The element with atomic number 17, it's a poison gas. Ryan?
Carbon.
Incorrect. Green pigment in plants used in photo. Justin?
Chlorophyll.
Correct. South American nation whose capital is Santiago. Justin?
Colombia.
Incorrect. In Florida, it's a piece from a ballot. In Africa, it's a country. The first one lost his head, the second died in bed, and the third was Princess Di's husband. A Mexican state or a small dog? Jasmine?
Chihuahua.
Correct. The fastest 4-legged animal? Justin?
Cheetah.
Correct. The commercial capital of Sri Lanka? John? Incorrect. Anything that causes cancer? Jaheim?
Carcinogen.
Correct. All right, the ones we didn't answer or didn't get correct. Cheyenne is the capital of Wyoming. Geoffrey Chaucer wrote the Canterbury Tales. Hartford is the capital of Connecticut. Charon, or Charon, C-H-A-R-O-N, rowed people across the Styx. A charge is negative or positive. Cirrhosis is the degeneration of liver tissues. Henry Clay was involved with the Compromise of 1840. Chlorine has the atomic number 17. Chad is a piece from a ballot or a country in Africa. Charles, the name of 3 different kings in English history. And Colombo is the capital of Sri Lanka. We'll add in our lightning round points and come back with a final score right after this.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
Join us for the College Fair on Wednesday, October 25th at Northside High School. Middle school students are welcome from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and high school students from 6 to 8 p.m. Representatives from over 60 colleges will help answer all of your questions about applying, tuition, and college life. So we'll see you at the College Fair.
Our final score is Northside 34, White Oak 24. Early College versus Dixon starts momentarily, so please stay with us.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Miss Nicole Martin, our 2017-18 Onslow County Schools Teacher of the Year. Creative thinker, marvelous teacher, advocate for public education and students, and superhero, Miss Nicole Martin.
Onslow County has just been, is just the greatest district that anyone could ever ask to work for. And really, I know we have cameras in here, but you really have to turn it on these students. I mean, I couldn't do anything that I do if it wasn't for my students. My honors class is in here right now. They were working really hard. And some of my student leaders are in here. They work so hard to help make everything possible and to have a supportive principal and a supportive district that really enables us to do everything that we do here in Onslow County.
Join us for the College Fair on Wednesday, October 25th at Northside High School. Middle school students are welcome from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and high school students from 6 to 8 p.m. Representatives from over 60 colleges will help answer all of your questions about applying, tuition, and college life. So we'll see you at the College Fair.
And welcome back to High School Academic Derby, brought to you by the Onslow County Schools. Our final match today is between teams from the Early College group and Dixon. Let's meet the coaches and their players. We'll start with our Early College team, who's coached by Deborah Kellum. Her players for this round are
Colin Davis, freshman.
Alyssa Sabella, freshman. Jesse Johnson, freshman.
Kara James, freshman.
The Dixon coach is Ashley DeMartin, and her players for this round are
Catrice Cade, senior.
Nick Sanders, senior.
Kayla Cordy, 10th grade.
Your first toss-up players deals with tragedies. Name either of the two countries that accidentally shot down commercial airlines during the 1980s. Nick.
Iraq.
Incorrect. You want to try it, Early College? Colin.
Germany.
The United States and the Soviet Union. Your next toss-up deals with verb tenses. Restate this sentence in the present perfect progressive tense. The sentence is, you do something to me. Alyssa.
You are doing something to me?
Incorrect. Dixon? Are doing would be present perfect, but we needed the progressive, you have been doing something to me. Military. He was born in Poland and became a naturalized U.S. citizen. He retired from the U.S. Navy as an admiral. Name this father of the nuclear-powered U.S. Navy. Hyman Rickover was his name. Next toss-up deals with biology. What are the abbreviations for the two macromolecules synthesized by all living organisms and on which all biological reproduction depends? DNA and RNA. State geography. The dark caves where Tom Sawyer got lost, the courtroom where Tom saw Muff Potter tried, the drain pipe down which Tom slid for his meeting with Huckleberry Finn, all actually existed in what Missouri town? Hannibal, Missouri, the hometown of Mark Twain. Sentence analysis. Verbs have tenses, voices, and moods. This question deals with mood. What mood is illustrated in the second sentence of this actual quote from the South Carolina Department of Social Services? Your food stamps will be stopped effective March 1992 because we received notice that you passed away. You may reapply if there is a change in your circumstances. Colin.
Sarcastic.
Incorrect. Catrice.
Insensitive.
Say it again.
Insensitive.
It's called the subjunctive, talking about a situation contrary to fact. I might have been a little sarcastic sounding with that one. You can reapply if you're dead. Atmosphere. Freezing rain occurs when rain hits a cold surface and freezes. In order for this to happen, what kind of atmospheric condition must exist? Nick.
Cold.
I need a more specific answer, so sorry. Early college. Kara.
Freezing.
It's called temperature inversion or just plain inversion. Your next toss-up deals with the Vietnam War. What incident that we now know probably did not involve an attack on U.S. destroyers defined the beginning of the large-scale presence of U.S. armed forces in Vietnam? The Tonkin Gulf incident. International relations. What is the name for the political game of international chicken in which opposing nations each try to gain the advantage by pressing a dangerous situation to the verge of war? Nick.
Cold War.
Incorrect. Early college. Brinkmanship, it's called, pushing someone to the brink. Your next toss-up deals with the Soviet Union. What story, under the guise of being a fable about domestic animals who take over a farm from their human oppressor, expresses the author's disillusionment with the outcome of the Bolshevik Revolution and shows how one tyrannical system of government in Russia was merely replaced by another? Nick.
Animal Farm.
Correct. For your bonus, number 1, under the terms of the Japanese surrender in 1945, the southern part of Sakhalin Island and what other island group were given to the Soviet Union? Number 2, these were among the measures that Nikita Khrushchev promoted under what program? Stalinbad, was renamed Dushanbe. Staliniri was renamed Tishin Valley. Stalingrad was renamed Volgograd. The Soviet anthem was purged of all references to Stalin, and thousands of Stalin monuments were destroyed. What was the name of that program? Number 3, the first joint spaceflight of the two superpowers occurred in 1975 when an Apollo command module docked with what kind of Soviet spacecraft? Number 4, TV brought into people's homes the collapse of Saigon, IRA bombings in London, the seizure of the American embassy in Iran, and the first days of the Soviet Union's own Vietnam in what Asian country? Nick.
For number 1, we have Malaysian. For number 2, we have de-Stalinization. For number 3, we have Sputnik. And for number 4, we have China.
De-Stalinization for number 2 is correct for 2 points. Early college, any of the others?
For number 3, we have Air Station.
Number 1 was the Kuril Islands. Number 3, the Soyuz. And number 4, a place we're too familiar with, Afghanistan. And that's the end of our first round. We'll come back with round 2 in just a moment.
They're coming. Places, everybody.
Light check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Everything looks good on our end.
And lights.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Join us for the College Fair on Wednesday, October 25th at Northside High School. Middle school students are welcome from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and high school students from 6 to 8 p.m. Representatives from over 60 colleges will help answer all of your questions about applying, tuition, and college life. So we'll see you at the College Fair.
After one round, our score is Dixon 4, Early College 0. We have new players to meet for the Early College team.
Jack Wilds, freshman.
Cameron Davis, freshman.
Keyshawn Henry, freshman.
And we're going to start with a math toss-up, and I'll read it twice for you. What are the possible values of P in this equation? 4 times the quantity P squared equals 36. What are the values of P in this equation? 4 times the quantity P squared equals 36. Nick?
Positive or negative 3.
Correct. For your bonus, also math questions. Number 1, what are the 2 values of Q in this equation? Q squared minus 625 equals 0. Number 2, what are the possible values for the unknown in this equation? Y squared plus 9y plus 20 equals 0. Number 3, what are the 2 solutions to this equation? P squared minus P equals 12. Number 4, what are the 2 values of the unknown in the following equation? 12 equals the quantity 2x plus 2 times x. Nick?
For number 1, we have 15.
No. Early college, any of those?
For 1, we got positive or negative 25, and for 3, we got 4.
Number 1 is positive and negative 25. That's for 2 points. The other answers for number 2, negative 4, negative 5. And number 3, 4 and negative 3. And number 4, negative 3 and 2. Your next toss-up deals with museums. The world's 4 greatest museums include the Louvre in Paris, the Metropolitan, the British Museum, and what museum in St. Petersburg, Russia? It's called the Hermitage. Geologic time. What geologic time division includes about 90% of all geologic time and spans from the beginning of the Earth to a period about 570 million years ago? Nick?
Precambrian.
Correct. For your bonus, number 1, not a single dinosaur fossil has ever been found in rocks formed after the end of what geologic era? Number 2, what is the meaning of the root word in all of the geological epochs? The Paleocene, Eocene, Oligocene, Miocene, Pleistocene. Number 3, what continental plate of the early Paleozoic composed of land in northern and central Europe was named for the sea adjacent to Denmark, Finland, Poland, and Germany? Number 4, what geological era ended about the same time as the meteorite impact in Mexico? Nick?
For number 1, we have Jurassic. For number 2, we have for number 3, we have Mediterranean, and for number 4, we also have Jurassic.
None of those are correct. Early college?
For 2, we have time.
Number 1 is the Mesozoic. Number 2, the scene means recent. Number 3, it's the Baltic is the name of that sea. And number 4, the Mesozoic. Your next toss-up deals with North Africa. Egypt is bordered by how many other African nations? Nick?
5.
Incorrect. Early college? Jack?
3.
The answer is 2, the Sudan and Libya. Force. Compressive force tends to shorten the body involved. What is the name of the force that tends to elongate or pull apart a body? Nick?
Decompressive.
Incorrect. Early college? Tensional. Statistics. What statistic would be used to illustrate the relationship between the income of a group of immigrants and their heights? It's called correlation. That's the end of our second round. We'll add in our points, come back for the lightning round right after this.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Join us for the College Fair on Wednesday, October 25th at Northside High School. Middle school students are welcome from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and high school students from 6 to 8 p.m. Representatives from over 60 colleges will help answer all of your questions about applying, tuition, and college life. So we'll see you at the College Fair.
Okay, after 2 rounds, Dixon leads the match by a score of 8-2. In our lightning round, all of the answers in today's round will deal either with words that start with pro, P-R-O, or con, C-O-N. Everybody ready? A disease that is easily spread. Catrice.
Contagious.
Correct. Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia. Jack.
Continents.
Correct. The highest rank of teacher at the college level. Catrice.
Professor.
That's right. An organizational framework for a nation or organization, usually written, Jack.
Constitution.
Correct. The legal process of proving that a will is valid. In Greek mythology, this titan brought fire to human beings. Nick.
Prometheus.
That's correct. A promise or agreement enforced by law. Sorry, too much time there. A receptacle that holds objects. Nick.
Container.
Correct. Something that can be owned. Alyssa. Okay. In economics, it's the class of industrial workers. Sorry. An oral exchange of ideas and feelings between people. Keyshawn.
Conversation.
Correct. The conversion from a vapor into a liquid. Jack.
Condensation.
Correct. The legislative body of the United States. Nick. Sorry. Selected information designed to persuade people to accept a certain idea. The information may be true or false. The movement of people in an organized and ceremonial way as during graduation. Catrice.
Procession.
Correct. The result in multiplication. Jack.
Product.
Correct. The person who leads an orchestra. Catrice.
Conductor.
Correct. Temporary malfunction of the brain due to a sudden blow to the head or body. Catrice.
Concussion.
Correct. Restriction or prevention of the legal manufacture or sale of alcoholic drinks. Jack.
Prohibition.
Right. A person able to predict the future and who proclaims the will of God. Nick. Sorry. Okay, so the ones that we did not get correct were: probate is the legal process of proving that a will is valid. A promise or agreement enforced by law is a contract. Property is something that can be owned. The proletariat is the class of industrial workers. Congress is the legislative body of the United States. Selected information designed to persuade people is propaganda. And it is a prophet who is able to predict the future and who proclaims the will of God. We'll add in these points and come back with the final score in just a moment.
Join us for the College Fair on Wednesday, October 25th at Northside High School. Middle school students are welcome from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and high school students from 6 to 8 p.m. Representatives from over 60 colleges will help answer all of your questions about applying, tuition, and college life. So we'll see you at the College Fair.
Our final score today is Dixon 24, Early College 18. Academic Derby is a locally funded production of the Onslow County School System. Thanks for watching, and please join us next time for matches featuring Jacksonville against Northside, Swansboro playing Southwest, and Northside returning to play the Early College team.